Hello, everybody. It's Walter, your favorite historian, educator, professor, and social studies extraordinaire, here today to discuss with you what is a historian. Now, unlike doctors, lawyers, or even teachers in certain jurisdictions, there is no official licensure process or official designation process to officialize one being a historian. And indeed, within the history field, there's a lot of debate amongst academics and others as to what officially constitutes a historian. Okay? Now, historians come in many shapes, sizes, and flavors. All right? The official Oxford definition of the term historian is as follows. A historian is an expert in or a student of history, especially that of a particular period, geographical region, or social phenomenon. Now, historians, being that we do not have an official process to officially be declared a historian, it is something that is more one of self-declaration rather than one where you must satisfy certain criteria or requirements officially to be referred to as a historian. Okay? You have freelance historians, you have professional historians. Okay? Freelance historians tend to be individuals who, while they do not work in the field of history, they typically have well above average knowledge in the field of history, usually specializing in a particular area. And they do a lot of personal research and study. Maybe they write articles, maybe even books, all right? But they don't work per se in the field of history in any way, shape, or form. And then there are professional historians, which are people who literally work in the field of history in some form. Whether that is their only gig or not depends on the person. I myself am a professional historian, being that I am an adjunct professor of history. Other ways one can work in the field of history could be as a museum tour guide, working as a professional researcher. One could work in an archive setting. One can work on archaeological sites. And, there are loads of ways, folks, in which you can work in the field of history. You don't have to necessarily be an academic, such as myself, and teach it at a college, or even teach it in high school or elementary school. Like I said, you can work in a museum on various sites in different countries around the world. There are lots of ways to promote and develop the field of history, okay? But like doctors and lawyers, virtually everyone who is bold enough to declare themselves a historian certainly specializes in one or more areas of history, okay? My personal specialization is American history, even more specifically, American legal and political history, okay? Someone else may specialize in world history. Another person may specialize in ancient Greek history, all right, or ancient Chinese civilizations, or the French Revolution, or the ancient kingdoms of West Africa, all right, or the Mayan civilization. There are loads of areas in which one can specialize in the field of history, all right, and although American history, again, American legal and political history are my areas of specializations, I certainly am knowledgeable enough in many other areas of history, as a matter of fact. Certainly enough to be conversant and in certain respects teach it to others. For the record, you do not need to have a PhD in history to be a historian. If that were the case, there wouldn't be a whole lot of historians out here. I have met many people in my, at this point, 40 years of life that know more history than many with PhDs in the subject. History is a field that is constantly in development, and it constantly nourishes what we think we know as we learn new things. Okay, an individual who is 65 years old or more, in my opinion, is living history. All right, and talking to these people, okay, their wisdom and knowledge, it's not only from books, it's not only from research, but it's also from life. And like I said, most of these people do not have PhDs in the subject. Okay, they know history by living it, and they've known history by studying it for years and years and years and years. Okay, I myself don't have a PhD in history or even a master's in history. I have a master's in legal studies, which had a heavy concentration at the time in American legal history. And in the process, I am considering entering into a history PhD program within the next couple of years. All right. But the whole summation of it all, folks, is that historians, whether you be a professional one or a freelance historian, a historian is an individual who obviously has a great deal of passion about the subject of history and commits a large amount of their time to research and development of history in one or more particular areas. All right, because we don't have an official licensure process like certain other professions, it is far easier to call yourself a historian. And the challenging part, though, is being able to defend that if someone actually bothers to pick your brain to see how much you know. I invite any and all challenges at any time. All right. And so I say, to give it my personal definition, a historian in its purest form is one who loves history and has a well above average level of knowledge in one or more areas of history. You don't need any degrees in history to be a historian. A bachelor's I have in history, a master's in legal studies, all right, with a potential to gain a PhD in history. But I was a historian, in my humble opinion, long before I obtained any of those credentials. And that is certainly one of, my most proud credentials that I do carry, that of a professional historian. All right, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on the subject one way or another. All right, so leave them down in the comments, and I'd be happy to engage you. If you have any questions or controversies, please leave them down there as well. All right, it's been a pleasure talking to you today. Stay safe out there. Take care of yourself, and I'll talk to you at the next video. Professor Shelton, out.